our EDF scientists and experts have found that the most effective net zero pathways include early action on methane. We know that methane is causing warming today. And so if we can take early action on CH4, that's methane, as well as early action or even action on CO2, that's the best way to keep us below that 2 degrees Celsius range. Generally, when we think about intensive dairy production systems, we think about mitigating enteric and manure emissions. And when we think about extensive dairy production systems, so pastoralists and smallholders, we really think about optimizing productivity. And I think it's also important to recognize here about thinking about how resiliency fits into this context as well. We really think at EDF about these emissions reduction practices and farmer-focused practices, and really focusing on how do we expand and accelerate those practices where there's overlap between the two. Because really farmers are at the center of this, and if we don't get farmers to buy into these solutions, we're not going to see them adopted on a wide scale that we need. I think the very specific global policies that we see are a couple. The first is that we know that over 70 countries, and that covers about 76% of global emissions, have made net zero commitments. So this is within their overall policy structure. They're thinking about how can we reduce emissions to a net zero perspective. And then again, it's not just about getting to net zero, it's about how we get there. And that's addressing methane as an immediate and impactful way. And so at COP26, there was the Global Methane Pledge that was launched. And more than 150 countries have since signed on to that, which is a pledge to reduce global methane emissions 30% by 2030. When we think about policy solutions and bringing solutions forward for farmers, we think about a solution, what we call this roadmap of commercialization to bring solutions forward. So I'll give you three very high-level policies that we're working on. And I say this, there's a lot of work going on, and happy to have conversations further on this moving forward. One of the areas that's really critical, if you think about that first step of commercialization, is that we need more research dollars. One of the things that we're doing as an advocacy organization is really focusing on bringing attention to the lack of financing and lack of funding in this space. So partnering with the Breakthrough Institute, we recently issued a report. This is for U.S. funding, U.S. agriculture R&D spending, and you can see when you say, okay, we want to solve climate change, we want to solve methane emissions from livestock, and then you look at where the public investment is going, it's vastly underfunded for where we need it to be in order to drive effective and rapid solutions in this space. And so this is a comparison of U.S. funding right now in this space, and how much of that U.S. funding is actually, R&D funding is actually going to solving methane. So one of the areas that we're talking about a lot is how do we drive more research dollars into this funding. We can't just bring any solution to market. We need to have safe solutions that farmers can feel comfortable using and that consumers can feel comfortable having cows eat and consume those products. One of the things that we're doing is in the US is really evaluating the regulatory pathway for these products to get to market, and then saying, how do we define a new pathway that continues to provide robust health and safety reviews for human and animal health, while also creating effectively reducing emissions. So we're excited. Right now, we actually hopefully have legislation that's being considered to help move this process forward and create a new pathway at the US FDA to have a better, more robust, but more timely process to get these solutions onto the marketplace. We have to recognize that farmers are going to be the key point in adopting these solutions. And so we need to find ways to incentivize them to do that. We also need partnerships. And so I'll mention Danone, who's going to talk a little bit later, has taken a historic step to pledge to reduce methane emissions from its fresh milk supply by 30% by 2030. We're going to do that in partnership with them. We're excited to be a partner with them in accelerating on-farm adoption, innovating to find new solutions for farmers, and ultimately advocating for effective policies to support adopting methane reduction tools and technologies. We can't do it alone, and I know we would welcome more partners to join us in this initiative.